Everybody fighting over this religious shit. You understand me? The Christians say Jesus is the messenger. The Muslims say it's Muhammad. I say, who gives a fuck who the messenger is? Did you get the message? They got the same damn message. Do unto others as you would have them do unto you. Science proves that to be a fact. For every action, there's an opposite and equal reaction. Don't fuck with me, and I won't fuck with you.
Brothers and sisters, welcome to America's only prime time spiritual experience. Just open up your hearts and your pocketbooks, cause here comes your host, the one, the only, the divine James L. White. Thank you. Thank you. Thank you.
And brothers and sisters, this evening my service concerns none but money. I want you to dig down. I said I want you to dig down. I'm talking about way down. And then I want you to come up with the paper. Because I got the paper.
When you discuss what something is and is not, you are opening the door for debate and opposition. I acknowledge that concepts and ideas can be expanded upon. They also have a core that cannot be changed. During this video, I acknowledge both the core, the expansion, and the lies. First, you should know I am an agnostic anti-theist. Agnostic relates to my knowledge of God's existence. Anti-theist relates to my position to deities and religion. I do not concern myself with the existence of any God. I do not know what associations you have with religion. I see religion as an idea, a tool of control, and a proposal to exclaim the function of the world. Many people I have met who are religiously inclined see it as an identity. I do not connect to this. However, I do recall what it felt like when I did indeed connect to this reality. I have very clear memories of it. My conversations, even with some long-term atheists, have displayed that many people conflate the terms atheism and anti-theism, or they harbor various conventional false conceptions. Atheism is the absence of belief in the existence of gods. Anti-theism is a conscious opposition to theism. So, an anti-theist is one not in favor with the God concept. This person is also actively and deliberately opposed to religion in general. If a God existed, they would be inclined not to yield their personal power to one. Being active does not demand that input is given without request, nor does it mean that you are of the same cloth or function like a theist fundamentalist in reverse mode. Some religions may receive more attention from anti-theists than others. This depends on understanding of their tenets and the situation. The actions a religious participant takes due to their beliefs and faith is my greatest concern. Keep in mind, belief in gods doesn't automatically lead to resistance to theism, any more than resistance to theism needs to be based on mental rejection of gods. Anti-theism requires more than denying the existence of gods or disbelieving in gods. Anti-theism requires two specific ideas. One, that theism is harmful. It does not matter what noun you put before the word harmful. I see it as harmful to the believer, to society, to politics, to the concept of freedom of expression, and to education. The second idea is that theism should be countered in order to reduce suffering and harm. Anti-theism is not solely founded on the idea that theism is false. Remember, false beliefs are not necessarily harmful. I acknowledge people have the right to worship. I hope this brings them happiness. I am encouraged to address theists primarily when they assume I am a certain way due to the actions of other anti-theists. Also, I am motivated in addressing them if they attempt to use their belief to control non-believers or other believers of a different set, or attempt to restrict my freedom. When you take a long, non-superficial look at anti-theism, you will find there is a gradation of thought and a range of applications. When dealing with those who have a secular worldview, it normally refers to direct opposition to belief in any deity or organized religion. When dealing with theists, it sometimes appears there is only an opposition to a specific god or set of gods. I would like to see a world where religion does not exist. I would like to see this happen not by force, but by refusal of fallacious thinking and discernment. However, I am confident this will not happen in my lifetime. So I would settle gladly for a world where religion is not used to micromanage others. Damn, this is also an unlikelihood in my lifetime. Why? Because people like to control others, and religion is a wonderful tool to use in doing just that. This does not mean I or others are on a mission to destroy a person's right to believe. I follow, as best as I can, a policy of allowance. This does not prevent me from seeing religion as toxic for humanity. I do. Anti-theists are commonly linked to aggression, but this depends on the individual. I do not find it necessary to attack unless in self-defense. There are some atheists, along with theists, who have a harsh opinion of anti-theists. This is their right. However, those who deny the existence of beings like gods and angels may not take a position of indifference towards those who do believe, but they are not required to be jerks and ideological bullies. This goes back to ways in which people counter theism. It can range from promoting alternatives, supporting measures to suppress it, this I refuse to do, or producing an argument to abandon gods and religion. It is a myth that all anti-theists automatically contribute to the us versus them paradigm. It was asked of me, if you have never been harmed by a theist, why do you take a position that by definition is against theism? My short answer would be that my indoctrination as a child sold me a bag of lies that affected how I managed my life and my decision-making process. The solace it offered was overpriced. It was not a bargain. I have never been, that I can remember, directly harmed by a theist. I have been injured by religious doctrine and the idea of God. It cannot be denied that some people commit heinous actions due to religious belief, because they sincerely believe this is what God wants them to do. Religion is a threat to human advancement. Let's provide some everyday examples. Some Christians, attempt to slow down the progression of rational applications of science. Think stem cell research. Some interfere with healthy political development. Think issues that revolve around body autonomy. Some try to actually alter educational curriculums. Think evolution. Some try to invoke censorship via book banning. Remember Fanny Hill, Canterbury Tales, and Moll Flanders, and various internet sites that were victims of Christians who were opposed to the ideas that were represented on those sites. Religion has marginalized the individual in an absurd way by providing external interference upon one's interest. Observe that some Israel supporters, again, some, think Israel has divine justification for occupation airstrikes. And what of radical Muslims who think they have some divine support for murdering Jews? And let's not forget the biblical justifications many used for slavery. Groups do not generalize, individuals do. It is sometimes thought that anti-theists feel justified to take an anti-theistic position that generalizes all theists. Sorry, this is not a default position. Any person who makes an effort not to fall prey to cognitive distortions avoids this trap. Some misguided people see anti-theists as being the other side of the fundamentalist theist coin. They label us as antisocial. This is nothing more than a ploy to excuse themselves from examining and observing individuals. They struggle to make reality tidy so they are not challenged by the topsy-turvy landscape of reality. It is my hope that you will not believe things for no good reason, that you will challenge yourself. These are only my hopes for you and myself. This may not be your path. What is correct for one is not necessarily correct for another. So, hopefully, you understand it depends on the person, not a label or the actions of others that determines the type of person you will encounter. Frankly, I have met some theists that are more intelligent, kind, and reasonable outside of their religious beliefs than some atheists and anti-theists. A specific position that relates to faith and things that revolve around it does not accurately display who you are, the totality of who you are, or what you are about, let's say, in other areas of your life. Thank you for listening.
Was a guy named Rusas Rushduni, and he wrote a big tome, The Institutes of Biblical Law. And this gets a little complex, but I'll try to make it quick and clear. What the theology began to talk about, and a name for it again that you can look up is called Christian Reconstructionism. They wanted to reconstruct society. It's also called Dominionism, taken from a text in Genesis where God creates human beings, man in particular, Adam, and says, have dominion over the earth. somebody like me would look at that text and say, and that's what that's talking about is stewardship. Be a co-creator with God, be a co-governor with God, care for the earth. But what the Christian right took it to mean is to seize the apparatus, to seize the means of control, and to dominate the earth, make it work for you. And so this movement began to grow in the Christian right, on the fringe of the Christian right, which is no longer on the fringe. It's the notion of wanting to reduce government to simply the role of defending property rights. That's the agenda of the Christian right, is that the government has two roles, to defend property rights, and the corollary, that takes a police and judicial apparatus, and I guess a governing apparatus, but the corollary is military, and that is to defend property rights by having a dominant military that is a Christian-based military that will win the world for Christ. The craziest part, and I just bring this up because it sounds so crazy, but it is very serious and is growing in acceptance on the Christian right, is to reform and close the prisons. So what do you do with the impure? You reinstitute slavery and capital punishment. And you're reinstituting capital punishment for all the crimes that are right there in the Bible, in the Torah of Israel. And that is if somebody is guilty of apostasy or blasphemy, or if your child is simply incorrigible, or if you murder someone or rape someone or break the Sabbath or sodomy or witchcraft or homosexuality. In the Old Testament, in the Hebrew Scriptures, and in much of Christian tradition, those were anathema. And in the Torah, those were all capital offenses where a person could be killed for that. There is a movement on the right wing of the Christian church to reinstitute capital punishment for those offenses. And what the listener needs to understand is this makes perfect logical sense in their world, because moral purity leads to peace. Moral purity leads to prosperity. Moral purity leads to the just and equal society, or I should say the just hierarchical society of law and order. When a group of people believe this and they don't have political power over others, it's just, okay, those people are kind of weird. But when that idea begins to manifest and take shape in the organizing of political power, which is what's happening in the Republican Party and the Tea Party, that's something that people should pay attention to. And it's not just political agendas at work, it's a deep spiritual move, and that the person who opposes you politically, that person is demonic and full of demons. And so what I ask, when I see this, what I ask is, what happens in human nature when we think that the person who disagrees with us is not just disagreeable, but is a source of evil and contagion and has to be eradicated or removed in order for the common good to rise? So what's happening today is a fusion between this believer going to church, being filled with ecstatic power, which kind of justifies the notion that Jesus is really with us now, and he's pouring this power now, and he's given us this energy now, and the kingdom of God has come upon us now, and it's being fused with this theology that what we're supposed to do with this energy is to rule and reign in the whole world and turn the structures of society to make them morally pure. To take there's a word for it called reclaiming the seven mountains of culture, to transform society, to transform the arts and entertainment world, the business world, the education world, the family world, the government world, media, religion, military. All of these must come under the authority of Jesus. And to cut to the chase, they must come under the authority, again, of a clerical reign.
that there's an invisible man living in the sky who watches everything you do every minute of every day. And the invisible man has a special list of 10 things he does not want you to do. And if you do any of these 10 things, he has a special place full of fire and smoke and burning and torture and anguish where he will send you to live and suffer and burn and choke and scream and cry forever and ever till the end of time. But he loves you.